She thought my credentials gave her the keys to brilliance. They gave her career suicide. I watched her build a presentation on 7 files of pure fiction. Then I watched the implosion from the best seat in the house. This is how I used patience and precision to dismantle someone who tried to erase my existence. My name is Lucas Campbell. 48 years old, divorced dad, and according to my annual reviews, technically exceptional but lacking charisma for client-facing roles. Translation: he does everything, but we can't imagine him schmoozing at cocktail parties. I've spent 12 years at Summit Strategy Group fixing disasters that would sink careers and companies, using the same methodical approach that kept me alive through 8 years of Army service and 3 deployments in Iraq and Afghanistan. The military teaches you things civilian life never can. Patience isn't just a virtue, it's survival. In Kandahar, rushing into a situation without proper intel got people killed. In corporate America, rushing into confrontation without documentation gets you fired. Same principle, different battlefield. My squad used to joke that I could spot an IED from 200 meters and a bad business decision from 200 emails. Both skills proved useful in Portland's corporate landscape. When the Northrop account collapsed because someone approved creative concepts without security clearance, they called me at midnight on a Saturday. I had the compliance framework rebuilt by dawn, drawing on military procurement protocols I'd learned as a logistics specialist. When our defense client discovered their entire campaign violated ITAR regulations, I rewrote 6 months of messaging in 72 hours, referencing federal guidelines I'd memorized during my security clearance process. Nobody asked how I pulled it off. They just added it to their portfolios and ordered celebratory drinks. Being invisible means you observe everything. I've watched 25-year-old digital natives present my frameworks to Pentagon officials who could smell inexperience from across a conference room. I've attended strategy sessions where my solutions were pitched word for word by people who couldn't defend a single assumption behind them. 5 times I've been passed over for director positions. The feedback never changed. Lucas needs to develop his interpersonal skills. Reality: Lucas doesn't play golf with the founder's nephew and refuses to pretend that disrupting traditional military procurement is anything but dangerous stupidity. Summit Strategy Group occupies the top 4 floors of a renovated warehouse in downtown Portland. Our workspace screams boutique agency trying desperately to seem innovative. Edison bulbs everywhere, reclaimed wood desks, and cold brew on tap. The kind of place where everyone discusses transformation and evolution, then panics when PowerPoint crashes during a live demo to federal clients who measure competence in results, not aesthetics. My office sits at the end of a corridor on the 3rd floor, wedged between the server room and emergency exit. The isolation suits me perfectly. Nobody wanders by accidentally. I can work without interruption and observe the office dynamics without being noticed. From my window, I watch junior staff members struggle with concepts I mastered during my first deployment, when understanding supply chain logistics meant the difference between a successful mission and a catastrophic failure. My relationship with the younger team members follows patterns I learned as a squad leader. Jordan Walsh, 26 years old, reminds me of soldiers I trained in Afghanistan, eager, intelligent, but lacking the hard-earned wisdom that comes from watching strategies fail in real time. I mentor him the same way I mentored privates, through careful observation, strategic guidance, and protecting them from mistakes they don't yet know how to avoid. The client wants innovation, Jordan told me last month, frustrated after a difficult call with a defense contractor. They keep asking for disruption. What they want, I explained, is solutions that work within federal regulations. Innovation that ignores compliance isn't innovation, it's negligence. In my experience, the most disruptive thing you can do is deliver exactly what you promised, on time and within budget. This approach earned me respect among the handful of military veterans scattered throughout Portland's business community. But it also marked me as old-fashioned among the Stanford MBAs who increasingly dominated our industry. I didn't mind. I'd rather be effective than trendy, reliable than revolutionary. Everything shifted when we landed Patriot Defense Systems, $40 million to rebrand their entire government contracting division and launch secure digital platforms for their 1,200 federal clients. The type of project that defines careers, gets written up in Defense Weekly, and wins industry awards. The kind of contract that requires security clearances, military experience, and deep understanding of federal procurement processes. Exactly the expertise I'd been building for 20 years. Naturally, I expected to be buried in strategy development doing actual work while someone else took center stage. This time felt different. During our kickoff session, our CEO, Rachel Stevens, specifically mentioned my name. "Lucas will be critical to this project's success," she said, making direct eye contact. "His strategic insight and security clearance background are precisely what Patriot needs." For a moment, I believed this might finally be my opportunity. I started drafting campaign architectures, building compliance frameworks, and imagining myself presenting to Patriot's board. I began researching their organizational structure, studying their existing contracts, and developing approaches that would leverage my military procurement experience. I should have recognized the pattern. That same week, HR announced a major recruitment win. They'd stolen a rising star from our primary competitor, someone who would transform our client relationships and bring fresh thinking to government contracting. The announcement included a professional photograph of a woman who looked like she'd walked out of a Silicon Valley promotional video. Perfect smile, confident posture, the kind of polished presence that screams never spent 3 months in a forward operating base troubleshooting supply chain failures. Her name was Ashley Reynolds, and she was about to become my nightmare. Ashley Reynolds arrived on a Wednesday morning like a hurricane in designer boots. 30 years old, Stanford MBA, and a resume that read like consulting mythology. She had allegedly saved 3 dying brands, led digital transformations at 2 Fortune 500 companies, and somehow found time to keynote conferences about disruptive thinking and government contracting. The entire office was buzzing before she'd finished onboarding. I watched from my corner office as she made her rounds, introducing herself with the practiced confidence of someone who'd never had a strategy questioned by federal procurement officers. Her handshake was firm, her eye contact unwavering, and her smile had the calculated warmth of a political candidate working a fundraising dinner. Rachel introduced her during our morning all-hands at 9 sharp. "Ashley will be spearheading our Patriot defense engagement," she announced, while Ashley stood radiating the confidence that comes from never having your concept rejected in a live pitch. She brings innovative perspective and proven federal success. Her approach to government contracting will revolutionize how we serve defense clients. Then, almost casually, Lucas will be handling all strategic development, research, and technical execution. Handling. That word that means everything and nothing simultaneously. In the Army, we had a saying, handle means you do the work while someone else takes the credit. It meant I do the thinking while Ashley did the talking. It meant my name might appear in footnoted text on slide 63 of the final deck. It meant another year as the invisible architect while someone else collected accolades. I'd seen this movie before. In Afghanistan, we called them glory hunters, officers who showed up for the medals ceremony but missed the actual combat. They spoke fluent PowerPoint but couldn't read a terrain map. They understood optics but not operations. Ashley Reynolds had the same energy, the same hungry ambition, divorced from actual competence. Ashley found me that afternoon. She didn't knock. People like Ashley never knock. Military protocol teaches you to announce yourself when entering someone's workspace. It's basic respect for territory and hierarchy. Civilians who ignore this protocol usually ignore other important boundaries too. "You must be Lucas," she said, flashing that startup founder smile. "I've heard you're the strategic genius around here." The compliment felt manufactured, like something extracted from a leadership manual about managing technical teams. Her eyes scanned my office, taking inventory of my military commendations, my deployment photos, and the stack of federal compliance manuals that most people used as bookends. She leaned against my doorframe, occupying space like she'd purchased it. "I'm excited to collaborate. I have some disruptive ideas about the Patriot project that will revolutionize their market position." I smiled politely, playing the supportive colleague. Internally, I was calculating how many hours I'd lose correcting her disruptive ideas and explaining why federal regulations exist for good reasons. "I'd love to hear your thoughts," I said, genuinely curious about what revolutionary approaches she'd developed during her first 6 hours at a company that specialized in defense contracting. Military intelligence had taught me to gather information before making judgments, even when every instinct suggested the source was unreliable. Ashley's revolutionary approach, as it turned out, involved leveraging digital transformation to disrupt traditional procurement paradigms. Translation: she wanted to ignore 50 years of federal acquisition regulations because they seemed inefficient. When I mentioned ITAR compliance requirements, she waved dismissively. "Those are legacy restrictions. Innovation requires pushing boundaries." I'd heard similar logic from second lieutenants fresh out of officer training who thought battlefield tactics were suggestions rather than life-saving protocols. The results were usually educational and occasionally catastrophic. Ashley's confidence reminded me of a young officer who'd insisted on deviating from established patrol routes because they seemed predictable. The IED that hospitalized 3 soldiers taught everyone why standard operating procedures exist. Over the following days, Ashley's approach to collaboration became clear. It began subtly. "Hey, Lucas, could you send me the competitive analysis for Patriot's East Coast operations?" Then, "I need the security compliance study by close of business." "No, please. No, thank you." Just expectation wrapped in the assumption that my time belonged to her schedule. In the military, we distinguished between officers who led from the front and those who commanded from the rear. The good ones shared risks with their troops. The bad ones shared credit with their superiors. Ashley was definitely rear echelon leadership material. By week 2, she was forwarding client inquiries with only handle this typed at the top. When I suggested including her in client calls so she could understand Patriot's specific requirements, she explained that her time was better spent on strategic visioning while I focused on tactical implementation. The translation was becoming clearer. Ashley would attend high-visibility meetings with executives while I handled the actual work of understanding client needs, researching federal requirements, and developing compliant solutions. She'd present my findings as her insights, my frameworks as her innovations, and my years of military procurement experience as her natural business instincts. Jordan Walsh noticed the pattern during one of our weekly mentoring sessions. "Lucas, Ashley's taking credit for the compliance framework you built for the Northrop account." She told Rachel it was based on her previous experience with federal contractors. I'd warned Jordan about office politics during his first week. Watch everything, document everything, and remember that in corporate warfare, just like military combat, situational awareness keeps you alive. He was learning faster than I'd hoped he'd need to. The breaking point arrived on a Tuesday at 6:15 p.m. I was deep into building a complex federal compliance framework when Ashley burst through my door without announcement. The military teaches you to read body language and energy. Ashley's posture radiated entitlement and urgency, the combination that usually preceded unreasonable demands. "I need your login credentials for the Patriot Project folders," she stated. Not requested, stated. "I'm assembling a preliminary presentation for the client and need immediate access to all working documents." In the Army, unauthorized access to classified materials was a court-martial offense. In corporate America, it was apparently standard operating procedure for rising stars. "Those folders contain working documents," I replied carefully. "They're not client-ready. Some contain ITAR restricted information that requires specific handling protocols." She waved dismissively, the same gesture she'd used when I'd mentioned federal regulations. "I understand what I'm doing. I just need to pull some frameworks for Friday's checkpoint meeting. Email me the credentials." I could have explained security protocols. I could have insisted on proper authorization channels. I could have escalated to Rachel Stevens and demanded clarification about document access policies. Instead, I remembered something my squad leader used to say. Sometimes the best way to teach someone about consequences is to let them experience them directly. "I'll send you the credentials," I said, maintaining professional neutrality. "Everything you need should be in the project folders." Then she vanished, leaving only expensive perfume and the lingering energy of someone who'd never learned that some doors shouldn't be opened without permission. As her footsteps faded down the corridor, I sat motionless, staring at my monitor. 12 years of being overlooked, watching my work vanish into other people's highlight reels, and being told I wasn't leadership material while leaders presented my strategies to clients who trusted my expertise. Something inside me crystallized. Not anger. Anger burns too hot, too fast. This was colder, sharper. This was tactical precision. In Afghanistan, we'd learned that the most effective operations weren't the loudest ones. They were the patient ones, the planned ones, the ones that let the enemy defeat themselves through their own arrogance and carelessness. I opened a new folder on my desktop and began typing. Patriot Final Deliverables LC, my initials barely noticeable at the end. The trap was about to be armed. Creating those dummy files felt like planning a military operation. Each one needed to be perfect in its imperfection, professional enough to pass casual inspection, flawed enough to detonate under scrutiny from federal procurement officers who'd spent decades identifying contractor incompetence. I spent evenings after Ashley left, usually around 6:30, crafting my masterpieces. The office grew quiet after hours, just the hum of servers and the distant sound of Portland traffic. This was my favorite time to work. No interruptions, no politics, just tactical problem solving in the fluorescent-lit silence. File 1. Brand Positioning Strategy 2025. The framework gleamed with strategic models and positioning maps, colors perfectly calibrated to impress MBA graduates who confused aesthetics with substance. But underneath the polished surface, I'd embedded a fatal flaw. The core positioning targeted commercial markets for contracts that were strictly military classified. Any defense contractor executive would spot this instantly. Commercial marketing for classified capabilities violates basic OPSEC protocols. It's the equivalent of posting patrol routes on social media, obvious stupidity to anyone with security experience, invisible to civilians who think federal contracting is just another business vertical. File 2. Campaign Creative Brief. Beautiful mood boards and creative direction that would make design awards committees swoon. I'd spent 3 hours on the visual elements alone, ensuring everything looked professional enough to fool someone focused on style over substance. The fatal flaw was subtler. I'd based the entire emotional approach on messaging that would trigger immediate security reviews. The tone emphasized transparency, open communication, and public engagement, exactly the opposite of what classified defense contractors need. It was like designing recruitment posters that advertised specific troop movements, attractive to amateurs, horrifying to professionals. File 3. Media Allocation Plan. This one was my personal favorite, a monument to beautiful incompetence. I used accurate media costs but allocated budgets to platforms that federal employees are prohibited from accessing during work hours. 60% of the digital spend went to social media platforms that most Pentagon officials couldn't use without violating their security clearances. The spreadsheets were works of art, color-coded charts, detailed ROI projections, quarterly breakdowns that would impress any business school professor. But the underlying strategy would waste millions targeting audiences that couldn't legally engage with the content. It was like planning a recruitment drive at locations where active-duty military personnel were forbidden to appear. Files 4 through 7 followed the same principle: professional presentation masking catastrophic strategic errors. A social media strategy that would trigger immediate OPSEC violations, partnership recommendations with vendors who weren't security cleared, pricing models that violated federal acquisition regulations, and a compliance framework that confused ITAR with standard commercial regulations. The genius was in the details. Each document included my standard naming conventions and digital signature embedded in metadata, with timestamps showing creation dates weeks before Ashley even joined. Then I created parallel versions, the real ones, stored in password-protected folders with comprehensive documentation of every decision. Military logistics had taught me the importance of redundant systems. If one supply line failed, you needed backup routes. If primary communications went down, you needed alternative channels. I applied the same principle to evidence gathering: multiple documentation streams, overlapping verification systems, and ironclad attribution trails. I also started creating a digital surveillance network. Every time Ashley accessed the dummy folders, my background script logged it. When she downloaded files, I knew. When she renamed them to strip my initials, I had screenshots. The IT department's access logs would provide additional verification if needed. Ashley took the bait instantly. The email to her was concise. Here are the credentials for the Patriot Project folders. The files in Patriot Final Deliverables should have everything you need for your presentation. I hit send at exactly 6:30 p.m., then archived a copy to my personal backup system. Within 2 hours of receiving credentials, she was downloading everything. I watched the access logs like a sniper observing target movement, patient, methodical, documenting every action. By the next morning, I had a complete record of her digital fingerprints all over my poisoned intelligence. The most satisfying moment came during our team stand-up the following day. Ashley stood at the front of the conference room, presenting my corrupted frameworks with the confidence of a general briefing the Joint Chiefs. "I worked late last night developing these strategic approaches," she announced, pointing to visualizations I'd created 4 weeks earlier. "The insights are groundbreaking." Jordan Walsh raised his hand, and I felt a surge of pride. The kid was learning to spot tactical problems. That positioning seems risky for a classified contractor. Are we really targeting commercial sectors for defense-only contracts? Ashley's smile remained flawless, but I caught the micro-expression of someone scrambling for justification. That's exactly the conventional thinking we need to challenge. Sometimes strategy requires bold moves that make traditional defense experts uncomfortable. She advanced to the next slide, my intentionally disastrous compliance plan. Look at these efficiency opportunities. This is why Patriot hired us to revolutionize their approach. I maintained a neutral expression, taking notes like a dutiful team member. Internally, I was cataloging every false claim, every misrepresentation, every moment she passed off my sabotaged work as revolutionary thinking. The following month became a careful dance of calculated support. Ashley would demand new strategies, always urgent, always last minute. I'd provide them from my special folder, each file a precisely crafted weapon waiting to backfire. She started sharing them directly with Patriot's leadership, attaching her name as lead strategist, occasionally remembering to credit me in footnotes as research support. The most revealing moment came during a Thursday afternoon check-in with Rachel Stevens. Ashley was showing our CEO the progress using my dummy files exclusively. "The strategic work is exceptional," Rachel said, glancing at me. "Lucas, your security expertise really shows through here." "Actually," Ashley interjected smoothly, while Lucas provided some initial data gathering, "I've completely reimagined the strategic direction based on my previous federal contracting experience. This represents a fundamentally different approach than what traditional defense consultants typically recommend." I smiled and nodded. Ashley has definitely put her unique perspective on things. Let her claim it. Let her own it. Let her build her entire reputation on strategies that would fail spectacularly under federal scrutiny. Every presentation made her more committed, more invested in the fiction. She couldn't reverse course without admitting she'd been presenting garbage for weeks. Meanwhile, I maintained two parallel workflows. The dummy files continued feeding Ashley's growing confidence, while I built the real strategy in secured folders only I could access. The actual Patriot analysis told a completely different story. Genuine market opportunities, authentic positioning strategies, and actionable insights that would legitimately transform their federal contracting approach. Every framework was documented, every assumption explained, and every recommendation grounded in my 20 years of combined military and corporate experience. This was my insurance policy, my ace in the hole, waiting in the wings while Ashley performed her dance of destruction with my poisoned intelligence. The preliminary review with Patriot was scheduled for the following Tuesday. Ashley had already sent them the complete deck for advance review, a 47-slide monument to beautiful incompetence. There was no turning back. The fuse was burning, and I had front-row seats to the explosion. But first, I needed to ensure the real strategy was ready for deployment, just in case anyone asked what actual competence looked like. The Patriot Defense Conference Room was a monument to American military capability. Championship trophies from defense innovation competitions filled glass cases along one wall. Photographs of Pentagon officials and decorated veterans covered another, and a mahogany table dominated the center, large enough to seat 25 executives, military advisors, and procurement officers comfortably. 19 people filed in that Tuesday morning, including Ryan Martinez, the CMO, whose questions would determine our fate, and Jessica Hamilton, Patriot CEO, a former Air Force colonel who'd built a defense empire through disciplined execution and zero tolerance for contractor incompetence. Her silver hair was pulled back in a regulation-tight bun, and her handshake could crack walnuts. She'd survived 3 Pentagon tours and 2 combat deployments. Ashley's Stanford MBA wasn't going to impress her. Ashley arrived at 8:30 a.m., 15 minutes early, wearing a suit that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage. She was all confident handshakes and practiced small talk, working the room like a political candidate at a fundraising dinner. I watched from my assigned seat in the second row, laptop ready, observing her performance with the detached interest of a sniper studying target behavior. Rachel Stevens and 3 other summit partners took seats along the sidewall, their expressions mixing excitement with barely concealed anxiety. $40 million contracts tend to sharpen everyone's attention, especially when your agency's reputation hangs on the outcome. The tension was thick enough to cut with a bayonet. Ashley clicked through her opening slides with practiced confidence, all polish and promises, building toward the strategy that would either seal the deal or sink the ship. Slide 1. Beautiful company overview, mission alignment, and all the corporate terminology that government executives grudgingly tolerate. Slide 2. Industry analysis pulled from public research, safe ground that couldn't expose the corruption underneath. Slide 3. Threat assessment mapping, impressive graphics, logical flow. She was building confidence, establishing credibility, setting the stage for the main event. I recognized the tactical approach, establish trust before delivering the payload. Unfortunately for Ashley, her payload was a live grenade with the pin already pulled. Slide 4. Consumer journey mapping, still relatively safe territory. Then came slide 5. Brand positioning strategy, the $40 million slide. The moment the positioning map appeared on screen, I watched Ryan Martinez's expression shift from polite attention to professional concern. Ashley had just recommended targeting commercial markets for contracts that were strictly military classified. "Can you explain this market focus?" Ryan asked, his voice maintaining diplomatic neutrality while his eyes telegraphed skepticism. Ashley's smile never wavered, but I caught the micro-tension around her eyes, the first crack in her confidence. "Our research shows significant untapped potential in the commercial sector," she replied smoothly. "These recommendations represent a paradigm shift that will revolutionize federal contracting." Jessica Hamilton leaned forward slightly, her colonel instincts engaging. "This contract involves classified defense capabilities. We can't market to commercial entities without violating our security clearance status." Slide 6, the compliance framework. Ryan pulled out his tablet, his frown deepening as he cross-referenced Ashley's recommendations with actual federal regulations. "Your brief suggests ITAR exemptions that don't exist in current law. These approaches would trigger immediate federal investigation and potential contract termination." "That's exactly the innovative thinking we're proposing," Ashley said, though her hand trembled slightly on the presentation remote. "Sometimes revolutionary strategy requires challenging traditional compliance constraints." Slide 7. The media allocation plan. Now even junior executives were exchanging concerned glances. A whispered conversation erupted at the far end of the table. Ryan nodded grimly at whatever he'd been told. "Miss Reynolds," the CMO said, ice crystallizing in his voice, "are you seriously recommending that we allocate 60% of our digital budget to social media platforms that federal employees are prohibited from accessing during work hours? This would violate basic OPSEC protocols that every defense contractor learns during security orientation." The room began to fracture. Voices rose as procurement officers identified additional problems. "Why are you recommending partnerships with vendors who lack security clearance? How can you suggest public marketing campaigns for classified capabilities? Are you really proposing pricing models that directly violate federal acquisition regulations?" Ashley floundered, retreating into consultant buzzwords about disruption and innovation. Each answer dug her grave deeper. The military executives exchanged the kind of looks that usually preceded court-martial proceedings. Then Jessica Hamilton asked the killing question, her colonel voice cutting through the chaos like a blade. "Do you even understand federal contracting at all?" Silence descended like a tactical nuke. 19 pairs of eyes locked on Ashley, her mouth opened, closed, opened again. No sound emerged. The confident MBA had finally encountered a situation that couldn't be solved with PowerPoint animations and startup jargon. Ryan's voice was quiet, controlled, lethal. "Mr. Campbell, do you have anything to contribute?" Every head turned toward me. Ashley went pale, finally understanding that her house of cards was collapsing in real time. I stood, smoothing my suit jacket with the deliberate calm of someone who'd spent 8 years preparing for high-pressure situations. "Yes, Mr. Martinez, I do." My laptop was already open, real strategy loaded, grounded in 20 years of combined military and corporate experience. "May I?" I held up a presentation cable. Jessica nodded curtly. "Please do." As I passed Ashley, frozen in place like a deer in headlights, I felt 12 years of invisibility dissolve. The screen flickered. Her fantasy vanished. Reality appeared. "Military-only positioning for classified defense contracts," I said, voice steady and professional. "This aligns perfectly with your security requirements and federal compliance mandates. Commercial targeting would violate your clearance status and potentially terminate your contract eligibility." Ryan leaned forward, relief visible in his posture. "These demographic targets match our internal security protocols exactly." I walked them through the real strategy. military-focused positioning, security-cleared vendor partnerships, classified capability protection, federal compliant pricing structures, and ITAR-approved messaging frameworks. Every recommendation was rooted in their actual mission, supported by legitimate research, and designed to enhance rather than endanger their federal relationships. 45 minutes later, the room had transformed from hostile interrogation to collaborative planning session. Questions became strategic discussions. Concerns evolved into implementation details. This was strategy as it should be: honest, rigorous, security-conscious, and respectful of the life and death responsibilities that defense contractors carry. Finally, Jessica raised her hand, calling for order. "Mr. Campbell, if you had this level of strategic depth available, why were we initially presented with that?" She gestured toward Ashley, still frozen by the wall. I pulled up my evidence folder with the same methodical precision I'd once used to brief battalion commanders. Complete transparency, Colonel Hamilton. Timestamps, access logs, email trails, metadata analysis. The flawed recommendations were internal working documents, never intended for client presentation. They were accessed without proper authorization and presented as final strategic work. Ryan scrolled through the documentation on his tablet, his expression growing darker with each revelation. The metadata shows clear evidence of unauthorized access and content manipulation. Jessica stood, her command presence filling the room. "Ladies and gentlemen, we need a brief recess. Mr. Campbell, please remain. Everyone else, wait outside." Once alone with the Patriot leadership team, Jessica's military bearings softened slightly. "That was quite a professional risk you took, son." I met her gaze steadily. "My responsibility is to provide accurate strategy, Colonel. I couldn't allow you to make $40 million decisions based on compromised intelligence." Ryan looked up from his documentation review. 15 years in defense procurement, and I've rarely seen someone stake their career on professional integrity. I want him leading this engagement. Jessica nodded approvingly. "Can you deliver everything you just presented?" "Yes, ma'am, but I'll need real authority, a dedicated team, and direct access to your security officers and procurement specialists." "Done." She extended her hand with military crispness. "Shall we invite the others back?" When the summit team returned, Jessica's message was unambiguous. "We're proceeding with one condition. Lucas Campbell leads this engagement, non-negotiable." Ashley's face went ashen as her corporate dreams crumbled in real time. Back at Summit Strategy Group, news traveled faster than encrypted communications. Ashley was gone within 2 hours, escorted out by building security while HR handled the legal implications. Rachel stayed behind for damage control. By 3 p.m., she announced to the entire company, "Lucas Campbell is now Director of Federal Strategy. Ashley Reynolds is no longer with our organization." For the first time in 12 years, I wasn't invisible. Colleagues sought me out for collaboration rather than exploitation. Others quietly shared their own experiences with stolen credit. I wasn't alone, just the first to fight back with evidence and strategic patience. 6 months later, the Patriot campaign launched flawlessly, on schedule, under budget, exceeding all security requirements. It generated an 18% increase in federal contract renewals and saved $3 million in compliance costs. Jessica sent a handwritten note that still sits framed in my corner office. "Integrity under fire, Semper Fi." The invisible man was gone. In his place stood someone who understood that the most effective strategy isn't always the loudest one. Sometimes it's simply letting people reveal exactly who they are when they think nobody's watching. Sometimes the best revenge is just giving someone exactly enough rope to hang themselves, and making sure you have video evidence of them tying the knot.